Welcome everybody. This is Jason, and today's workshop we are making non-recolorable objects recolorable. Let's just dive right into it. So this technique, we're essentially adding an MMAT, that is a material override, to an object that does not normally contain an MMAT. And if we hop over to the resource thread, or I'm sorry, resource post, if we go to workshop forum, the color out of space part 1, let's go ahead and grab the textures and the object. It's called Apple Test 1 if you'd like to follow along. So in SimTE, so let's just pop open Apple Test 1. Okay. And we'll do a quick preview in the GMDC so you can see what you're dealing with. This is the regular old Maxis apple sculpture. It's got a little bit of a shine on the material, but it's only got one texture. And if we look at this apple sculpture, we can see that it's not recolorable. It's not set up to be recolored. So this is a little bit like the slaving material in that we'll be adding a block to the GMND to make it recolorable. So let's dive right in. So what we need to do first is add an MMAT resource, and that's included in the material post. Then we're going to edit that MMAT. We rename the subset name value, we fix the GID, then we rename the TXMT value, we rename the model name value, which is essentially the crest, and we use hash generator to generate a new family value. So let's have a look at that in SimPE. So the first thing we're going to do, we click anywhere in the resource tree, or I'm sorry, we right click anywhere in the resource tree, and we go add, and I've included an extracted MMAT. The text is going to be a little bit different, but that doesn't matter because we're going to fix that. So we can see now we have this MMAT in the resource list. And an MMAT is kind of an XML resource, but it does different things as well. So what is the first thing that we're looking at? Oh, I made a graphic. This is straight from my tutorial. So we will be showing you, we will be going step by step over this. So the first thing that we have here is the subset name. Now the subset name here is referencing body, but we don't want that exactly. We want the subset that corresponds to this package. So the name of the subset here is sculpture Big Apple _ Chrome. So we just copy that. We hop back over to the newly added MMAT. And we just paste over body with that name. Okay. And then we're looking for the GID. Now this is super easy. With the test object, I've already generated a new GID, so we don't need to worry about that. What we're going to do here, we select this little checkbox that says update all MMATs. And then we click on this update button. It doesn't change anything in the OBJD, but if we look at this, it ends in 851. So we hop back up here, and it has transposed the data in object data to this value here. Okay. So moving on, now we have the name. This is the name of the TXMT. So if we look here, it's referencing something that doesn't exist in this package. So we're looking for, there are two materials in this package. There is Chrome and there's shadows. So we just copy the file name of Chrome everything before the underscore txmt. Then we hop back up here. We'll go back to name. And we're going to keep this thing here because it's referencing an internal resource. So we don't want to erase the 2 pound signs and then 0x1C050000 exclamation point. We want to leave that there. We just want to paste the name of the txmt after that. Okay, so moving on. The fourth thing that we're going to mess with is the model name. This is the crest. And if you can see here, it has essentially the same structure. We're referencing an internal resource, and then all of this stuff, and then underscore crest. So we do need the underscore in this one. So we hop down to the crest. Sorry, we need to commit this first. So let's commit that change. Hop down to the crest, and we just copy everything, including underscore crest. They hop back up here, and as before, we want to leave these first few characters, just paste right after the exclamation point, just like that. Okay, and now we need to give it its own unique thing. This is like a unique identifier for MMAT. So for every recolor, there should be a unique family value. So we go to Tools, Object Tools, Tools, Object Tools, Hash Generator. And then we want to select the third radio dial, the one that says GUID. We just copy this long string here, Control C, close that out. Then we select family on this side, and in the value box, we just paste right over that. Okay? So now we have the MMAT completely fixed. Let's look at the GMND. And let me pull up my slideshow to explain a little bit about what we're doing. So editing the GMND, what we're going to do, we're going to add a block to the GMND resource, enable the block, change the name of the block to TS Design Mode Enabled, and add arrays to that block to indicate what the recolorable subsets are. Okay, it sounds like a lot, and it is kind of, but we're going to get into that. So here we go to Edit Blocks. That's the third tab up on the top. So we're looking for C Data List Extension in parentheses. So it's this one here. It says C Data List Extension. Then we click on the Add button. Okay, so by default, this is not included in the object graph node. So if you don't add it and you just save at this point, it will break the object. So we need to make sure that that's enabled. When you first launch the game, if it immediately crashes before it loads everything, it's most likely due to a broken GMND. So back to the Content tab, we make sure that the first block is selected in dropdown. Then we move over to the second sub-tab of the first block, which is C, Object Graph Node. Then we click over here, Add. And now we need to change the index value to whatever is next in the sequence. And these are our hex values. So after 9 in the sequence would be 0A, but we only have 6 currently, so we're fine. We're going to put 7 for index. And then enabled, we just delete that last 0 and make that a 1. Then we commit. Okay, so now we have this basically empty block that we just added, and it is enabled. It is so the 0 block is connected to it. It can see it now. So now in the drop down, we select the new block that we've added. Now over here, we've got something that says name. So we're going to go lowercase ts, capital D, design, capital M, mode, capital E, enabled. And then making sure that array is selected in the dropdown, we're just going to add. And then we click commit. Now let's hop back up to the GMDC, back over to the group subtab, and let's copy this name once again. Because it's Maxis, so they couldn't make it simple. It has to be this big, long, crazy, inconvenient name. So that we hop back, we go to the GMND, we hop back down to the new block that we added, and this array, we just paste that right in the name text box. Commit, and then we save, and that should be it for the GMND. However, we now are, well, before I move on, are we good on the GMND? Did everyone follow along with what I did? These are the two things that you need to do to make it recolorable. And then we need to fix the integrity. How do we do that? So we go Tools, Object Tools, Fix Integrity. We don't rename anything here. We just click on OK. Let SimPE do its thing. Then we go to Tools, Object Tools, Scenegrapher. Okay. And this is what we want it to look like. So if we select the MMAT, okay, this is correctly referencing both the CRES and the TXMT, the two values that we added. And then if we look at the TXMT, okay, is pointing to an environment cube. This is the default Maxis environment cube for shiny things, and it's referencing this texture. Okay, so we know that that part works. The MMAT is hooked up correctly. So now we go to the MMAT and we click on Preview. And so the texture that we're previewing is this apple. Okay, so it identified it correctly. Now let's move on. So manually adding more recolors. So instead of going to Object Workshop and creating a color extension package or a recolor for every single texture, we're going to manually add two textures. And to do that, the procedure we follow is clone the TXTR, replace the texture, rename the file name, and commit. Then clone the TXMT, rename the stand mat base texture name value in the Properties tab, copy that value, and in the File tab, we paste that name over the original one referenced in the file name. And then we clone the MMAT. It's already hooked up correctly, so we only need to change the TXMT and the family value, which is convenient, and then we just make those edits and we commit. Okay, so let's hop back down to the TXTR, and in the resource post, I've added these two textures for your convenience. These are the ones that I'm going to use. So we just grab the one that says texture. We right click in the resource tree, or I'm sorry, the resource list, and we clone. Then we select the one that we cloned, and I'm going to call this one texture red. Then we build DXT as we normally would if we're creating a recolor. We open the DDS builder. We grab the texture, and to switch it up, I'm going to go to DXT3. It doesn't super matter when you're working with textures this size, but just for the sake of consistency, I'm going with DXT3. We build that, and we commit. Okay, then let's do that once more. It doesn't matter which one you clone from as long as you're not cloning the shadow texture. So we just clone the one that we just created. Select that. Now instead of red, we're going to name this one green. Build DXT. Select that green texture. It's still set on DXT3, so we just build and we commit. So now we've got two TXTRs. Okay, so we go to the TXMT. We'll grab that Chrome and let's clone it. So the first one, just going to call Chrome Red. We change the file name to Chrome Red. And then down here, this value, standard material based texture name. We go to the end here, and I'm just going to make that texture red. And then holding down the shift, just use the arrow key to select that entire string. Copy. We hop over to the file list subtab, and we can see where the original texture name is. We're not messing with the environment cube because we want to keep that spicy, right? We want to keep that reflective. So we just paste over the original file name like so. Commit. Okay, and we do it once more. Clone. Grab the new one. Let's name this Chrome Green. And then go down to the end here, change this to texture green. Once again, we highlight this entire string, copy it over, hop over to the file list subtab, paste over that, commit. Okay, cool. We've got two TXTRs, two TXMTs. Now we need to make two MMATs. So for the first one, we just clone that, jump down here, and we can see that the name of the TXMT referenced is Chrome. We just add red to the end of that. Then we go Tools, Object Tools, Hash Generator. Select the GID value once more. Highlight that string, and then just paste over the original family value. Commit that. Then we clone once more. Let's change this one to green. Then we hop back over to the hash generator. We don't want to paste this same value over, so let's just hop back over to one of the other radio dials, hop back over to GID, and it generates a whole new value. So if I can select it, we grab that new value, we paste that over family, we can commit that, close up the hash generator, and so now we've got two GIDs. Then Chrome Red, we need to change default material to false. So 0. Commit. And then for chrome green, we do the same thing. Commit. So we cloned our resources. Now, final prep. We run a fixed integrity operation. We check the scene graph, and then we preview the two MMATs, just as we did before. Tools, object tools, fixed integrity. Now let's try the scene grapher once more. Names of the TXMTs are correct. So we should be good to go. So now let's go to Chrome Red, the MMAT, and we preview. And that looks as it should. Now let's double check Chrome Green. And that looks as it should.
Nice green.
Yeah. So I think we're good to go. Let's test the object. So just going to grab that there. Do I have the right game loaded up? Yes.
You have so many different saves there.
Oh, that's a good question. Well, let me fire up my game and I will explain that to you.
Thank you.
Where did I put it? Story stuff. Okay, this is not what it says it is. It's basically just a test folder that I use. Okay, so there's our apple sculpture. And then we hit it with the design tool. There's the red recolor. And there's the green recolor.
Just what we want.
Yeah. So how about that? And I think that's it as far as testing in game.